Welcome into another episode of the Hawks Eye podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Coots, and it is the season prediction show. So, unlike some that just go over the regular season win-loss totals, I'm going to do that. Plus, I'm going to do some predictions on guys that are on this Seahawk roster that I expect to have big seasons this year. And I'll kind of go into my thoughts on why and the impact they'll have on this team. So it's going to be a show that's going to have some substantial stuff to it. So make sure you stick around throughout the entirety of it. But before we get into that, guys, I really need you to help me out. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, fellow Seahawk fans. Get it out there. We're closing in on 1,000 subs, which would be huge for me to hit 1,000 subs. It gets me right back into where I needed to be for this channel to grow and continue to grow and bring you guys this great Seahawks content. So we'll get into that season prediction show right after this. All right, guys, it's that time, the season prediction show. So we're going to talk about, first off the bat here, we're going to talk win-loss prediction for the Seattle Seahawks this year. Now, I know a lot of you have heard me on the Seahawks Syndicate and other Seahawk content creator shows really talk about how I think the Seahawks team is going to go 13-4 this year. I'm really bullish on that. And there's been a little bit of, hesitation from some people on it. They think they're an 11-win team. I don't get the narrative of the 9-8 win team, even 7.5 over under that Vegas is putting on them for a team last year that had so much turmoil on offense to still get 10 wins. The defense is coming all back together as a unit, which should allow them to start fast. And in my opinion, the schedule is pretty favorable for Seattle, and it gives them some, I think games that will match up for them nicely at the time of the year that they're going to happen for them. So with that being said, guys, let's get into the win-loss projection for the Seattle Seahawks team this year. And I'll bring it up on the screen right now. So as you can see, guys, there on the screen, I've got the Seahawks going 13-4. I have Seattle starting 4-0. I have us beating the 49ers, beating the Steelers, beating the Saints, and beating the Cardinals. And the reason I see us starting 4-0 is Arizona is basically our vacation home at this point for this franchise. We like to go down there and beat up on the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. I think Mike McDonald's figured Kyler Murray out in that offense, as we saw late last year, just kind of toying with them and creating havoc for that group. The Saints, we don't know who's going to be at quarterback, whether it will be Spencer Rattler, who's been named the starter, or will Tyler Shuck have taken over at that point potentially. I look at that as the Saints having to come up here, and I think the 12s are going to be rocking after that first week one game against the 49ers, which I think we're going to beat San Francisco. And I think we're going to beat the Steelers there. I think the way this offense is constructed and the way this defense will start this year and be, unified and going fast, it allows our offense to play catch up. And we know in the first 4 to 5 weeks of an NFL season, offenses kind of take a little bit of time to get going. The nice thing with our offense this year, it's a little bit more simple. It's a tried and true system that they're running from this West Coast Bill Walsh down to the Kubiak, Shanahan, McVay system, O'Connell system. But that's why I see him starting 4-0. And I also think this defense is going to be needed to be leaned on a little bit in those first 4 weeks, maybe to get us out of some situations that are not necessarily as favorable or closer games than maybe we were expecting. I do have us going on a bit of a 2-game losing streak there right after that Arizona game. I think the Bucs are going to be a really tough team to beat with all their weapons. Mayfield is playing unbelievable football down there in Tampa. Mike Evans is still producing. Chris Godwin should maybe be back at that point, which just adds to their receiving core. Maybe McMillan's back. They have Mbuka down there too now. That Tampa Bay team is very loaded. In my opinion, probably the second or third best team in the NFC. So it's going to be a real test. I don't think it'll be a blowout loss. I think it'll be a very close game, but it's one that I do have Seattle losing. And then I have them losing to Jacksonville. And some of you may be shocked at that, but we all know throughout an NFL season, there are games that you shouldn't lose that you do lose just because they catch it the wrong time. I think coming out of a very physical game with that Tampa Bay team, that's probably going to be the best game that weekend, I think, in the NFL. Going down to Jacksonville, going into that climate, It's going to be a challenge. I don't think it'll be like the last time we were in Jacksonville with that Ramsey group down there and we kind of, really laid an egg. I think it'll be a situation where Seattle just can't seem to get themselves going in that game and the offense struggles to get going. So I have them. I'm at that point, just before the bye week, I have them also beating the Texans. I think the Texans coming in here on Monday night. Again, I think with, the way that the Texans want to play football, I think it leads into what works for Mike McDonald. He's going to be able to confuse CJ Stroud some. He's going to be able to create pressure. And I don't know if the Texans defense, a way to mitigate the Will Andersons and some of those pass rushers they have down there is to run the football. And that's also a decently long trip for the Houston Texans team to come up to Seattle for Monday night. So going into the bye week, I have this team at 5-2. I have us coming out of the bye week with 2 solid wins. I think we can beat Washington because we have the bye week. It is a Sunday night football game, which means it's a little bit later. Means we can get it to Washington, get, time zone kind of all set up and everything for this team, get them all ready to go. And I think they come out and they beat that Washington team in a very close game. Arizona, I have us sweeping the Cardinals this year. I don't see a way this Cardinals team can play with Seattle. I know it's a divisional game, and those are always tough. But I think, if we get that first win on Thursday night down in Arizona and then come back home, I think coming off that high, that Washington win, I think we beat up on the Cardinals again. And then I've got us losing to the LA Rams in LA. I think that's going to be a really tough game. I think Matthew Stafford may be healthy then, even though I made the jokes on recent shows that he could be in a wheelchair. I think if he's healthy, that Rams team is going to be a tough team to play. I think, that proved to be in last year in the first matchup, especially not so much the second one when they were resting all their starters. But I think the Rams are really going to be the team that's kind of give us the most trouble in the division. I've got us beating the Titans. I've got us beating the Vikings. I do not think the Vikings are going to be good this year. They're going to be struggling with J.J. McCarthy, who's basically in his rookie year because he didn't play at all last year. We saw what happened with that Vikings team when they couldn't establish a run game for Sam Darnold late in the year with the O-line having all the issues. I don't know if Jordan Mason is the running back savior for that franchise down there, and Aaron Jones is getting long in the tooth and isn't probably going to be as explosive as he was a few years ago. So I have us beating the Vikings. I have us beating Michael Penix and the Falcons. I know some people have picked us to lose that game. I think that's a game that we'll be able to take advantage of. Again, another young quarterback, seeing all these simulated pressures from Mike McDonald and the way he can confuse QBs. I think it's going to be really hard for some of these younger quarterbacks that are in year one or, year two, but year one of fully starting to get a grasp of what that defense is doing. I have us beating the Colts. I have us beating the Rams on Thursday night at home. We know that'll be NFL rivals jersey night for the Seattle Seahawks. They'll be bringing out those new jerseys they just released. I think we beat the Rams at home and split that season series. I have us beating Carolina. And then I do, unfortunately, have us losing the last game of the year in San Francisco. And the reason I say that is because by the time that game comes, I think Seattle may have the division on wraps. I think they may, at that point, they will be a 13-win team and 3 losses. I think there's a very good chance Seattle is probably the first or second seed. And I think going there, I don't know if San Francisco, maybe they're playing for their playoff lives. Seattle's already wrapped up the division potentially. And, between the Colts and Panthers game, that Rams game may be the division clincher. And I think maybe the 49ers are banging with the Rams to try and get into that last spot there in the playoffs and trying to wiggle their way in. So I do unfortunately have us losing the last game of the year, morely because I don't think we're going to be playing a bunch of our starters going into that game. I think it's going to be a game where we are able to kind of rest some guys and get ready for a playoff push, which I have predicted that Seattle will win 2 playoff games in. So that is my season win-loss projection for the Seattle Seahawks. I think it's a very reasonable thing based on the schedule. The more you look at it, the more some of these games match up, where the bye week hits and stuff. I do think, Seattle may have a couple hiccups here and there in the schedule, but I don't think it's anything that's going to really worry the fans. Maybe that Jacksonville game if they lose that. But let's go into something else I decided to do. So I really wanted to go into some player predictions. There's always a win-loss prediction shows, and they're great. I want to go into some player stuff. And so the first player that I'm going to bring up on the screen is our quarterback, Sam Darnold. I've got some predictions for him and where he's going to be this year. And so for Sam here, I've got I predict he's going to have a true career resurgence in Kubiak system. Like, it'll be 2 years now. It'll really prove he is in a resurgence. This quarterbacking for him is going to be a lot easier in the NFL. The stats I've got for him is kind of what I've been telling a lot of people. I think 3,800 yards, 25 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, about 65% completion, 7.6 yards an attempt, which I think is really doable in this offense. My thought, though, it's enough efficiency to quiet the critics, but will still leave some fans wondering if Seattle needs to draft a QB in 2026. I look at it going, people are going to look at those numbers and go, yeah, they're okay. They're not, fantastic. They're not what he did in Minnesota. But I think they're going to be good enough to help this team win and get to the 13 wins I predicted. But I think it's going to still leave people wondering, hey, it won't leave me, but it may leave others going, well, we maybe need to look at drafting a quarterback in 2026 because, if this is such a good QB class, it's coming in with Nussmeier and Klubnik and Sellers and all these other guys that are going to be involved. Maybe we have to take a swing at a quarterback because we don't know if Jalen Milroe is going to pan out or not. I'm of the boat that I want to see Sam here for 3 years. I think there's a good chance Sam Darnold could be a very good quarterback in Seattle. So that is my Sam Darnold prediction for 2025. And we'll go into now my next guy on this list, which is a guy that I think, when you look at guys that have come to Seattle that have made an immediate impact already, we've heard about it, and that is none other than Cooper Kupp. I think there is a very good chance Cooper Kupp isn't a wide receiver 2. I think he could be a wide receiver 1B in Seattle. And the reason I say that is I think he has a bounce back year. I think he gets 85 catches and breaks 1,000 yards with 8 TDs. And my thought is he may not be 2021 Cooper Kupp that we saw win the Triple Crown, but I think he's still going to be Sam Darnold's best friend on third down. I think this guy is going to be a third down merchant for us that is going to just be the guy that we all know, okay, it's third and 7, 3rd and 5. Hey, you know what? Are they going to be able to stop Cooper Kupp from getting open? Nah, probably not. And they're going to be so focused with JSN and some of these other guys. I think Cooper Kupp's going to wreak havoc, and that's where he's going to get a majority of his yards, is catching those, sit in the zone kind of routes and then take off and get an extra couple yak yards out of it. So that is my season prediction for Cooper Kupp. Now, guys, let's move into, couple more guys here on offense. I've got a couple others. The next guy on this list, is someone for me that, when I think about the Seattle Seahawks this year, I think run the ball. They got to run the ball. They got to own that. And there's one player I think that, for them, that if they can get going, I think there's a chance this guy actually becomes a workhorse and bell cow. And a lot of people I know are going to assume Ken Walker. I don't think so. I think it's Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet, to me, is going to be the guy that I think takes over lead duties by week 9. I think he's going to get close to 1,000 yards. I think he's getting 957 touchdowns, 280 receiving yards, because we know he can catch it out of the backfield. My thoughts, though, the physical style Seattle has been missing since Marshawn will come back with Zach Charbonnet. I think what I saw from him in camp and how he moved and how he was explosive, Zach Charbonnet is going to be a beast this year. He is going to tote that rock and really help set the tone. I think we saw some of that in that first drive in Kansas City. I'm really excited to see what Zach Charbonnet can bring to the Seattle Seahawks offense this year. Next on this list, guys, is a group I think that we all are banking on solidifying finally and becoming a true force. And that's the O-line. I have a prediction for the O-line group and just some stats from me that I want to see, and I think they can hit this year. So for this O-line group, let's take a look at it. I got a feeling with this O-line, they finally become a stabilizing force. I think they go from 46 sacks given up last year to only 37 this year. I think a lot of that will have to do with the boot action and running the ball. The run game paves the way for Seattle's first 2,000-plus rushing yard season since 2014, which isn't a cumulative. It's not saying one individual rusher. I think between Charbonnet, Halani, Milroe is going to be involved in that number, K9. I think there's a chance Seattle can go for over 2,000 yards rushing as a team this year, and they haven't done that since 2014, which we all know beast mode was the back then. My thoughts, though, not the dominant Walter Jones, Steve Hutchinson group of old, but the most cohesive O-line Seattle has had in a decade. I think going left to right, Cross, Zabel, Sundell, Bradford, and Lucas will become the new five that really dominate for Seattle over the next 4 to 5 seasons here, as long as they can keep this group together through the contracts that are going to need to be paid out to the tackles. I think there's a good chance the Seattle team really has a good season on the O-line. And guys, we'll go into the defensive side of the ball now. So with that being said, guys, my defensive guy that I'm really interested to see, kind of have a resurgence this year is DeMarcus Lawrence. I think there's a good shot DeMarcus Lawrence is better than what we expect. And when I say that, guys, it's because I think, he's a veteran leader. I think he's going to have balance in the pass rush and run defense. As much as people said, oh, he's not going to be the same effective pass rusher. I don't know if that's true. I think he will give us something that we need in the pass rush, but I think his main thing is going to be that run defense and helping solidify that. I got stats from him. I got 8 sacks this year. I think 14 tackles for losses, 2 forced fumbles, and 20 QB hits. I think that's reasonable from DeMarcus Lawrence this year. Some people may think that sack number is a bit high. There's a chance he could have a situation like you look at the start of last year before he got injured. He had, 3 games where he had almost 4 sacks. So you get a couple of those games sprinkled into the season. All of a sudden, the guy that is at 4 sacks gets up to 8. My thoughts, though, Lawrence may not post the gaudy sack totals, but his all-around impact makes Seattle's defense complete. I really don't think Seattle's going to go get that, edge rusher that we were all thinking they were going to get in Hendrickson or Micah Parsons. But I think this might be a huge, impactful signing is DeMarcus Lawrence. All right, guys. So the next defensive player on my list, we're going to go to the secondary on this one. And it's a guy I think everyone really appreciates now. We've seen, how impactful he can be. And that's Julian Love. I really think Julian Love is going to be an impactful player this year. I think his versatility, he's a chess piece of McDonald's defense. The stats, I think he gets 90 tackles, 4 INTs, and 2 forced fumbles this year. I think he's going to be around the ball a little bit more now that he's more comfortable in this defense. My thoughts, he is the glue guy of the secondary. Seattle's version of a Swiss Army knife. And we may think Nick Eamon-Wari is going to be that Swiss. No, it's Julian Love. He can play in the box. He can play the deep, third of the field in that deep middle. He can go anywhere in Mike McDonald's defense. Julian Love, to me, is the most complete safety in the room right now. And I think you're going to see that this year. And he's the guy that holds it on all together. When Julian Love came in to Seattle's defense, when Jamal Adams started to have issues, him and Quandre Diggs played better together in the back end. That's why I think Julian Love's going to have such a good season this year in Seattle. The next defender, guys, I'm going to talk about on this prediction show is someone I think we all want to see a jump from, and that is Byron Murphy. I really think Byron's going to take a step this year. I think we're going to see that step from him. And when I say that, guys, these are the kind of things I'm talking about with Byron Murphy. I think when you look at him, I think the prediction is he becomes the impact interior disruptor for this defense. I think he's going to get 6 sacks this year. And I know people are going to go, wow, like that's a whole bunch from last year. I think he's, we've seen the pass rushing work he's done in the offseason. I think it's going to translate this year. I think he's going to get out of playing as much nose tackle, play some 3-tech more. I think he gets 6 sacks, 12 tackles for losses. I think he gets 35 pressures on the inside of this defensive front this year. My thoughts, Murphy becomes a dominant force inside to which Seahawk fans haven't seen. And I know this is a big, lofty statement since Cortez Kennedy. I'm not saying he's going to be Cortez Kennedy, but it'll be the first time we've had somebody in the middle of that defense. And I know we had Leo last year, but Leo also did a lot of work coming off the edge in some of those sets. But truly guard-to-guard area, I truly think Byron Murphy has a chance to be something special in Seattle. And I think it'll be the first time we have a guy that can be that special since Cortez was in the middle for the Seattle Seahawks defense. It's a lofty expectation, but that's kind of my prediction for Byron Murphy this year. All right. And the last guy we're going to discuss on this defense is one of my favorites, Devin Witherspoon. I think Devin Witherspoon might actually ascend this year. And I'm going to put, when you guys see this, I think you guys are going to be a little bit surprised at what I'm going to claim Devin's going to do this year. So my prediction, I think he becomes a top 5 corner in the league. I think he truly does now. I think some of his nickel duty and responsibilities will be going to Nick Eamon-Worry, and I think you'll see Devin on the outside, and I think we'll see 3 INTs. You know, he's only had the one so far in his career, the interception return versus the Giants his rookie year. But I think 3 INTs, 14 pass breakups, 3 sacks on blitzes. He's still going to blitz. He's still going to come off that edge. I also have the thought that, you know, he is the energy and the edge that fuels the entire defense. I think we've seen that in the preseason. He's usually the first guy off the sideline when things were going and big plays were happening for the younger guys playing. It goes as much as Devin Witherspoon's energy allows this unit to go. And I think he's more free now in this system more than maybe last year. I think you'll see less thinking. He'll just be reacting. I think he becomes a top 5 corner in this league. It's a bold statement, just like my Byron Murphy one is bold with the Cortez Kennedy impactful part of it. But I truly do believe Devin Witherspoon really is going to kind of, you know, jump ahead and really cement himself as a top 5 guy so that, you know, when it comes to discussing, do we pay Devin Witherspoon? It's not even a question. It's yeah, just how much are we going to be going into the bank account to pay Devin Witherspoon? So, guys, those are my season predictions. Okay. So, those are kind of from the win loss to the player guys that I'm really interested and the O line and stuff. Those are some of the guys I think, you know, that'll be interesting guys to follow throughout the season. Don't worry. I will have this saved so that way you guys can always call back to it in the comments and be like, you know, Bryce, you said that, you know, Sam Darnold was going to do this, and I'll own it. I will sit on my island out here. I think John McGrath's out here with me on a waving a Seahawks flag out on the 13-4 island out here. I think there's some more people now coming. Dan Vians has driven his boat up to this island and brought out a lawn chair to sit and join us on the beach here. But I'll sit there with all my predictions that I've made. I am very confident and very bullish on this team. And it's not because it's a homer factor. It's because looking at what this team did last year, looking at what I've seen so far in this preseason when it comes to this offense in person and on film, I think this team has a chance to be special. I don't know if they're Super Bowl ready. I still think there's a couple pieces that they need to add depth-wise to really be able to consider themselves a Super Bowl team, but you never know. Injuries to other players and other teams, and all of a sudden it breaks Seattle's way, and we see this team hit at the right time and take off like we saw the 2012 Ravens do. 2012 Ravens team, you know, we think about that team. They weren't the top seed that year in the AFC. They came kind of into that, beat the top seed in Denver, and kind of moseyed their way all the way to the Super Bowl because they caught fire at the right time. And Joe Flacco was playing absolutely amazing, and they were riding off the Ray Lewis emotion of it being his final ride. There's a chance Seattle catches lightning in a bottle in a way towards the end of the season and, you know, just kind of takes off, and there's no one really in their way because this NFC is so wide open. It truly is. And so the last thing, guys, I'll kind of finish on in this show about is my bold and fun predictions for this season. I've got some kind of fun ones, some quirky ones I think you guys will appreciate, kind of like our 2-minute drill segment that we do. But I'm going to do my bold predictions here. And those are for the team this year. So, rookie impact. I've got Gray Zabel and Nick Eamon-Worry making all rookie teams. I think both of them will be on their all rookie teams for defense and offense. The Pro Bowlers this year, I think because Seattle does so well, I think Cooper Kupp, Charbonnet, Witherspoon, DeMarcus Lawrence, Sam Darnold, and JSN all make the Pro Bowl. And again, we know the Pro Bowl voting is a little bit more skewed now. It's all about fan favorites and so on, and not so much on just on players' abilities and what they've done during the season. But those are the guys I think could make it. My sneaky prediction, Jason Myers nails 90% of his field goals, including 2 game winners from 55 plus this year. I don't know how he's going to do it, but it's a sneaky prediction I've got for Jason Myers this year. And my hot take is Seattle has a top 10 defense in points allowed for the first time since 2016. And I think it's not so much a hot take. It's almost a new lukewarm take now because we all have such high aspirations for this team and expectations for this defense especially. But That's my hot take, is we finally see a defense in Seattle again that's considered to be one of the best in the NFL towards the end of the season. Guys, that's it. That's my prediction show for this. It's a nice, short, sweet prediction show, getting you guys all ramped up for that 49ers game this coming Sunday. I'm super excited for it, guys. It's going to be a great game. I got to ask you guys, though, before we get out of here, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Click that notification button. That way you won't miss any of these videos coming out. And guys, the content's just going to keep coming. We're not stopping here. It's going to keep on rolling. I've got more shows. I will be on Jason Aponte's 49ers show on Friday, previewing the Seahawks game. We will have my Seahawks Blueprint to Victory show coming out. It's about a 15-minute show on Saturday mornings. It'll drop. You guys will give you the 3 key things I've got for victory for Seattle over the 49ers, and I will be doing that weekly. And then don't forget, Sunday night, I will have the live post-game show. We'll be discussing everything from that 49ers game, and then the following Monday will be the first of a weekly segment with Michael Thompson of Field Gulls, which is called Seahawks Aftermath. And we'll do it every Monday night. We'll be talking about, what the Seahawks, what were Mike McDonald's kind of, responses in his media press conference on every Monday. We'll discuss, kind of after 24 hours, what did we really think of that game? What were some of the highs, some lows, depending on how the game goes? Those are kind of the things we'll discuss on that show. And we'll also, leave it to be a live show, guys. So we'll get your takes, your comments, how you guys are feeling 24 hours after the loss or the victory. In this case, it will be a victory for Seattle versus San Francisco 49ers. But guys, one other thing, if you are looking for this channel or you want to tell your friends about it, down below here, you can follow the Hawks Eye Pod on YouTube at the Hawks Eye with Bryce Coots. I'm on X as the Seahawks Eye, so feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or X, guys. I'm even on Blue Sky. It's the same thing, the Seahawks Eye at Blue Sky. As well, guys, I am now on Spotify. So if you like listening to audio versions of the show, it will be on Spotify. You guys can follow it there at the Hawks Eye Pod with Bryce Coots. So, guys, with all of that being said, appreciate you checking in on this episode. Hope you guys enjoy it. And as always, go Hawks.